Welcome to Collegetown Class, Art with Mira Joseph. We are here with local artist and Micah graduate, Mira Joseph, who is going to walk us through some wonderful art exercises today. Collegetown Class is an ongoing series and is facilitated by alumni of the Collegetown Civic Leadership community, which Mira is a part of. So I'm so excited to kick it over to her and can't wait to go through some art exercises and have folks engage with them on our YouTube or on our social medias after the session. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, Mira.
All right. Okay. First of all, can you hear the construction outside, or like, should I move? Okay.
No,
Great.
You're good.
Great.
I feel your pain. I'm living next to, you can see a massive crane directly out my window. So just know I can't hear it.
Great. Okay. So since today is like a pretty casual day, you know, it's your Friday morning, I was thinking we could do some just like meditative, like doodling drawing, but it's going to have an emphasis on the principles and elements of art and design. So I will share this little this little screen that kind of has like just like a quick little like oh wait, let me doing this. It has like just like a little everything of what it is. All right. So basically when we're, you know, we doodle all the time, like it's just mindless things, like, you know, if you're ever on a phone call and you're just kind of like drawing circles or spirals or whatnot, you know. So, and I feel like sometimes we underestimate like how it's art, you know. I feel like sometimes we try and tone it down. We're like, oh, it's just like a doodle, or, you know, like artists are always like, oh, I drew this, it's just a doodle. But you know, and there's nothing wrong with a doodle. A doodle's meditative, it's fun, it's a way to get the creative juices flowing and to warm up too. So with today, we're gonna try and make like a piece with like a doodle. So we want to focus on either the elements or principles of designs, and here's a list of like what they are. So when you're doodling, maybe like keep these in mind. Like we're obviously going to use line, unless you like just want to go straight with the color and the mark making. So just think about like where your lines are going, like really be a little conscious of what you're doing, like meta cognition, I guess, where you're thinking about what you're doing and how you're thinking about it. So yeah, when you're making lines, think about the lines and how that makes you feel. And then we got shape, which is shapes. Like you can make them organic, you can make them geometric, but think about what feeling that shape is. A lot of times organic shapes have a sense of freedom to them, whereas inorganic shapes have this rigidness to them. So, you know, and you can even like mix and match them, have them intersect in each other. You know, the possibilities of art is truly endless. It's crazy, isn't it? And then we also got color. Color is a whole another thing. You know, you got complementary colors, you got the whole color wheel. We can talk about color forever, but we're not. We're just gonna talk about color. Or just like in the most basic sense. There's color, Roy G. Biv. Yeah, use colors that you like, colors that feel good. A lot of times the colors that you do like will have like some sort of like, it'll be like some sort of like set, like it might be analogous colors or complementary colors. Like some of my favorite colors are pink and like mint, which are complementary colors because they're on the opposite side of the color wheel. And like orange and blue are complementary, and like red and green complementary, which is just like, and pink and mint is just like light red and orange, or red and green. And then purple and yellow are complementary. And then, so that's what complementary means. It's on the other side of the color wheel. And then, yeah, I feel like that's the basic ones. I can talk about color forever. Texture, you know, the feel, like what's the texture of the shirt you're wearing? Does it feel soft? Does it feel gritty? Is it made of like alpaca yarn and you need to condition it so it doesn't itch you as much? Like think about what texture your art feels, you know, like what do the lines, like are they like really rigid and it might feel like a little like harsh or gritty, or it can even just like really paste something in there so that way you can have a physical texture and you can like touch it and be like, ooh, that bubble wrap felt like fun. And you can just like kind of touch your paper and touch that bubble wrap as like not like an ASMR thing, you know? And then we have space. So think about what you're drawing and then what like the shapes that are around that drawing. Like, it's like that, like, is it a lamp or is it a pretty woman thing, you know? Like, you can think about that, but kind of think about what you're not filling in. You know, think about that empty space. Since there's a lot of potential with that, you know, you could fill it with other things. Just thinking about the space in relationship to what you're currently drawing is a pretty important thing to think about. And then value, value is kind of like darkness to lightness and shades, or like in the color. A lot of times you can't really do value with markers, but you can do it with colored pencils. Just like if you press really, really hard and get that pure color, that's going to be a dark value. And if you press really light, like you're just like lightly shading something, that'll be like a light value. And usually there's like a scale of 1 to 9, where 9's the darkest value and 1's the lightest value. And you can kind of make a gradient from lightest to darkest. And then principles of design are, you know, you got your patterns. We see patterns everywhere. Like nature has patterns. Like we love patterns. There's, oh God. Yeah. Patterns are great. They're fun to repeat. They can be like a lot of times people just do repeating lines. Meditative. Contrast. Contrast can be with color, you know, like complementary colors are contrast because they're both like opposite of each other. But contrast can add like a lot of like, what's the word? Dynamicism to your art. So it's really fun to see how they can like the juxtaposition between colors and contrast and how that can really make your art elevate to the next level. Emphasis, there's so many, you know, you're focusing on one aspect of your doodle. So maybe you start with like a really big piece in like the lower right corner and that's your emphasis, and everything else on the page is just supplementary to that, and you're just kind of doodling around that like really big part that was in the paper. And that, but it could be different, you know, maybe it could be really something really small, but it's a color that's like really vibrant and it draws your eye there, and everything else is maybe a little bit duller and a little bit more subdued. So there's a lot of ways that you can show emphasis. Just think about how you can really make the part the star, you know. And then we have balance, you know, that's if you want to like make something feel, what's the word? I can't say balance, but just like make it feel like nothing's taking too much space. Make everyone feel like they're a part of it, you know, like it's kind of the opposite of emphasis. So emphasis, you're really focusing on one specific part. Balance, you don't want to really have one person steal the show. And then proportion and scale, you know, just showing the relationship between things. Like, is something really bold and something really light? Like, how do they interact with each other? What do they do for each other? And then harmony, just like, how does that piece feel as a whole? A lot of times mandalas and like big pattern things will have a sense of like harmony because it like you see it and you just like, it all fits together, you know? And there's other ways to show like like there's so many ways to depict this. It's just really depends on how you want to, what like elements and principles you want to include in it. And then rhythm and movement, you know, a lot of times I use rhythm a lot in my art career. And I liked how like repeating patterns can really show a sense of rhythm and how you like layer them and kind of showing like how they move, I guess. Like, I'm trying to think how to, like, kind of if you took like a blurry photo of someone, you know, there's like a little bit of movement because there's that like cast behind someone. But there's other ways, you know, you can show like do like a lot of like sketchy things to show that that person was moving. So a lot of different ways to show movement. A lot of times like photography can show movement really well, but art can also totally show movement pretty well. But yeah, these are the basics. And yeah, when you're doodling, just like maybe think about them, but you can really draw anything you want because it's your art. And that's all I have for the slide. Any
Great.
questions?
No, that was super helpful. I wrote down all of those elements and principles. And while, you know, I know what a line is and a shape is, I appreciate going over the thought process behind them, right? Because there is, like you say, some knocking down a doodle, right? Like, oh, it's just a doodle. But when you put some thought into it and think about how the lines and shapes and forms, etc., are being used on the page, I think that just elevates the whole process. I'm excited to doodle.
Yes. So yeah, we can start doodling, and then we could also just have like a conversation of what is art. Like, what do you think art is? I guess I'm just talking to you, Maddie.
What do I think art is? Ooh. So I really think of art as an expression, and it can be super personal, which I like, in that it can be an expression of what I'm personally feeling, but also I think of art as history keeping. Like, it can be very expressive of like a moment in time, you know, what's happening in the world outside of just like my little personal being. So I really like to think of art as an expressive documentation, be it in what's happening in my world or the outside world, the world outside of my little quarantine capsule, my apartment. What about you?
You know, I feel like my definition of art has like really broadened. Like, I definitely agree with everything you say. Like, but I feel like since art is so subjective, you know, like it really like is like, I feel like, and like, not to be that artist, but I feel like anything can really be art. Like a sport could be art because it's like I hate sports. I don't get it at all. Don't understand the hype. But you know, I can't deny that there's so much love and care that's into it. Like, it's a whole process. There are rules. There's like a way to do, like, there's like unity within everyone. Like, it's an experience where everyone can take part. It's like very interactive. Like, I think that whole, like, it's such a cultural, like, there's so much aspects to it that make it like culturally important, and like but also like so more than just people like playing with a ball, you know. I don't ever watch a sport, but you know, I can't deny, like, when I'm playing badminton, like, you know, there's fun in it. It's an experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I don't know. I remember in high school, my teacher was like, everything's art, and I was like, okay, that's okay. Like, sure. And I was like so skeptical, but now it's like I can really see it, how like everything can be art, because since it is subjective, you can really like rationalize anything, you know? So I don't know.
You've grown.
Yeah.
You should reach out to that high school art teacher and be like, I get it now.
I get it. I feel like the art that I used to like in high school versus the art now is like very different. So,
oh yeah? How so?
I used to like a lot of like illustrations, and I still do love illustrations, but like I feel like now I like my favorite artists, they're called it's a group, and they're like a performance artist.
Oh.
And they're called Odysseyworks. They're at the DMA. And basically what they do is they make a curated experience for an audience of one. But like the experiences are crazy, like truly like wild how they get there. But So they'll have like one participant and they'll do so much research on this person, like so much extensive research. And then they'll like make a curated experience for that person.
Oh.
So for one person, they like, I'm like, there's a whole TED talk on this artist, but I'll try and like condense it really quick. But like one of the, I think like how he met his wife, like he made an experience for this one woman at an art show or like at a gallery, but the guy that was taking her, and then, but the tour was different. It wasn't like a normal tour. It was a tour that was very curated to how she sees art and like what she finds important in art. So like all the things that they were like going over and talking, they were like all her favorite pieces, and then they would like, she was like a person who would like stop and look at a piece for like 20 minutes and like really digest it. And so they'd go like at her pace, but like the like list was like really, really curated. And then they have like more and more people join that were like supporting people. And so the group would become larger and larger. Everyone was just kind of like staring at this like one painting for like 20 minutes, you know, like just like with her. And so they were like, the person was sharing how this woman viewed art with a bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Like, yeah, so that was like the most tame one. The wildest one is like, oh my God, it's like crazy. They like sent this person to like Saskatchewan, Canada, and like it was wild. It was like,
I'm curious how they pick their people.
I feel like it might be volunteers.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. They do like, the person taught a class at Micah actually, but
that's cool.
Yeah, I really suggest the like TED talk with the Saskatchewan like place, because that one like that's what like blew my mind, and I can't get notes on that one.
Noted. What was the group called again?
Odysseyworks.
Odysseyworks. Okay.
I'll
definitely look into that. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, but you know, I feel like in high school I would have been like, what? Like, what is this? But now I'm like, wow, great. I love it. How's your doodle going, Madison?
It's great. I've got some flowers going.
Ah, pretty. I like.
Yeah.
I can already see so much in that.
How's yours? What's happening? Oh, beautiful. Nice.
You know, I feel like before I also like strived. It doesn't sound right.
It doesn't. But it's not stroke. Yeah, whatever. Used to strive for. Right.
Yeah, I used to strive for like perfection. I was like really into drawing like people and anatomy. I'm horrible at anatomy. But
human bodies
I was
like
really, because I was
draw.
God, I've never seen one, but I was like in a friend group that like was really illustration based, and they would draw people a lot, and so I kind of like, I guess implicitly like, had that same belief when I was like with them, and then I feel like since I like kind of left that group and like was doing art like on my own, I feel like there's like a lot of questions I was asking myself, like, and these were like questions that were kind of asked throughout art history, because like after like photography was made, people were like, well, photography is just like, because people would do like these hyper realistic portraits, but now there wasn't really a need for like a hyper realistic painting if you can just take a picture of someone, you know, to like that moment. And so I was kind of like asking myself, like, why was I spending so much time with like redrawing a picture, you know? So I feel like my doodles are just like really not anatomically correct. They're not like perfect at all. Like I use marker, so you know, every mistake I make, there's no going back. Like, and I feel like It's fun. I feel like art has become way more meditative now that I'm not really caring about like perfection, you
Mm,
know?
totally. I
Uh,
one of my like big lessons growing up when I was taking notes for class or doing homework or etc., I would get all tripped up, especially if I was writing in pen, which would be like the major issue
mhm,
about like misspelling a word or like having one of my letters be wrong or something. And my mom would always say, just
mhm.
draw a flower pot over it. Just make it into a doodle. Just make
That's
it into something. So that always stuck with me
yeah.
of like, you know, make it into a flower pot.
Mhm.
I don't know why that was her first example that popped into her head, but it stuck with me from elementary school on. I was just like, not a big deal. Just make it into something else. So if you look back at my
Yeah,
high school notes, they're filled with like little like houses and flowers and things that cover up my typos.
that's so cute. I love that.
Yeah. A good lesson to
Yeah,
learn, especially for a perfectionist.
yeah, no,
A
definitely.
reformed
I feel like
perfectionist. Now I've abandoned that
yeah,
perfectionism. It's too tiring.
yeah, truly, truly.
So what's your
Oh, I
favorite
think that's
thing
such
to
a
doodle? Like shapes and
um,
stars or
I feel like it really depends. Like, I feel like, okay, so in high school, a lot of people have like these OCs, like original characters. And so, like, people would just kind of like draw like characters from their imagination. And I used to have those characters, so I'd always draw them. But then, like, in college, I kind of like lost touch with them. Like, I don't really like think about the characters I've made in like high school. I'm like, so, so that's like really a good question because, like, I like, now that I'm out of college, I'm like, what do I draw? Like, oh my God, like
you don't have assignments.
I don't have an assignment. Like,
Right.
especially for like doodling, it's like what's there to draw? So like sometimes I'll just like draw myself and then I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sick of my face. Like, so I just like I don't know, I've been drawing a lot of like video game stuff lately,
Oh, okay.
like because it kind of gives you something to draw, which is
Mm-hmm.
nice. Like, and then I'll just kind of do like supplementary like doodles by it, I guess. Like with art, it really helps to have like a starting point because it's
Mm.
like anything really. But yeah, I used to draw like these little like demon girls a lot, and then I kind of stopped with them, and now I'm just kind of drawing like video game stuff and like
Okay.
yeah, yeah, no, that's definitely like a big like question because I feel like a lot of artists will like stop drawing
Mm.
afterwards. Like it's like a very common thing because art school is so I have so many opinions on art school, but art school is so project based. Like every single thing you're doing is for like a larger project. You don't really doodle as much in art school. So
Mm.
your process becomes so project oriented and then when you don't really have like a need to like do projects or like really make any like one big thing like you're not
Now
used
what? Mm-hmm.
yeah literally like I'm not going to make like another painting and I don't really have the space to make like an installation or like
Mm.
thing like my art changed before I used to be like a very like visual artist and now I do like sculptures I guess
Oh, cool.
and like installations but I don't really have the space to like modify things because I modified a lot of furniture and I would make like a lot of big scale art, but I don't really have that space anymore.
Mm.
So now I just like and I wasn't doodling for a good chunk of quarantine. Like after college ended, I was just like, I don't know what to do.
Mm.
And during the like summer camp, I like bought a sketchbook and then I would just like kind of doodle in my like spare time. So I kind of I'm back on it, but I'm not really making I guess like highbrow art, but you know, screw highbrow art. I don't like highbrow art. Like I don't
Doodles forever.
really like doodles are so fun. I feel like there's so much. I feel like the best art is like middle school and high school like student sketchbook. You know, you really it's so authentic. You know, you really see their thought process. You see like their errors. You see it's so like like it's so pure. You know, it's just like it's just like I feel like it's art in its purest form. You know, you're not really thinking about what other people think. Like I remember when I was in middle school, I was drawing all the time, and then like high school too, and then but as I grew older, just like you know, I felt more self-conscious of like what I was drawing because other people would see it, I guess. But I don't know. There's so much. Art is such a loaded subject. I don't know. I feel like I've definitely fallen back in love with art when I'm just doodling, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
There is a famous researcher and public speaker, Brene Brown. Have you ever heard of Brene Brown?
No, I have not.
Well, look her up. She's fabulous. She has a whole segment about what she terms art scars. When a student is, in kindergarten and you say draw a horse and they draw a horse with a unicorn's mane and 3 heads and 17 legs, and that's their horse and they love it and it's fantastic. And then there's an age in later elementary school where they start grading art, and then it becomes here's this picture of a brown horse, you need to recreate it, and if you give me a purple horse, you're going to get a C. And that's that. And then there's that shame equivalent of like being told you're wrong, being told your art isn't the right kind of art. And then people carry that on for the rest of their art careers, and it kind of shuts down that part of their brain in their creative space. So she has a whole segment of, thinking through that and like how, we can overcome that as adults with that realization that was like, oh, that moment in 5th grade is when I shut down my internal artist, or whatever the case may be. Because I agree with you in the creation process of thinking of it for pure creation, not tied to a project, not tied to a deadline or a grade. It's totally different. So yeah, I find, I did not go to art school, but I find that in my adult life, it's kind of all about just like creating the time to have that one-on-one time with my sketchbook. So I am with you in the value of just the meditative qualities of doodling.
Yeah, I feel like that's what it like. I feel like art was like meditative and like a very fun experience for me when I was like younger, and then it became more stressful. It's just like kind of asked like, what's the purpose of art? Like what's the purpose of art in your own life? I feel like it's important to like really think about that and reassess it, because I also feel like it's like everyone can make art. Like it's not really like something specific. So when people are like, oh, I can't draw, it's like, so what? Like, who cares? Like, that doesn't matter. Like, just have fun.
Agree. I feel the same.
Yeah. I feel, yeah. It's so interesting.
So I have a question. When you sit down and have just a blank piece of paper in front of you, how do you get started? Like what, I know the video game characters and like thinking about that in terms of inspiration, but just say you have no external stimuli, it's just you and your markers and the paper. I feel like that's a barrier to entry for some folks. It's just like, this is intimidating. I don't know where to start or how to start. What's your recommendation for putting marker to paper?
I feel like if you're just like getting into art, I feel like colors for me specifically, like I think colors are kind of like my biggest emphasis in art because like this is just colors. Like it's colors.
Cool.
Like it's not really like anything specific. Like like sometimes it's just really fun to use a brush pen. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fun to like use materials, but if you have like just like any markers or like pencils, just really experiment with like how that works, how the medium itself works, and just like think about that, I guess. And then I'd say like squiggles, pattern. I feel like just whatever you do, start with a line, see where it ends up, is it a squiggle? Is it a straight line? And then just see how you can expand that line. Yeah, I'm trying to think like what else, like, I think art definitely, or like when you get into art, it definitely benefits to like, you could do like the meditative process, but in my experience, it does like help to have something you're like interested in drawing, like, oh, I want to draw this cool dragon or something. Like, I know D&D has been so popular in like the past like 3 years, I think, like pop up a lot. And I've seen a lot of people who like start getting into art with their like character in mind. And that could be like a jumping off point. Like, I think world building helps with art and like making things. Yeah, I don't know. There's so many like prompts, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a prompt really helps also. Like, because that's how we did art. Like, that's kind of how I feel like art started in like like high school. Like, they would always give us a prompt. It was very prompt based.
Right.
And it doesn't need to be like a very specific thing. Like, a lot of times it was like phrases. Like it can be like draw something from your memory, draw something that like really impacted you, draw what you want the future to look like, draw like your island, like like anything could be a prompt. And then we also had like sayings, like I remember like respond to this prompt, like the straw that broke the camel's back, like don't bite the hand that feeds you. And so we had like a lot of sayings and like really weird phrases, like I think like one of our like words was like kakamora, which was like the fairy that fears white. And so that's like like you can go like anything. Like how like yeah. I also noticed that like a lot of things like are on Twitter and like social media. Like social media is so helpful because they have like trends of like prompts. And I remember there's like this one trend that was like make a color look like feel like this. So it was like make red feel innocent, make like yellow feel sad, like make purple feel like really happy. So and I thought that was a really fun way because I feel like colors like we already like have kind of like feelings based on colors. Like I feel like a lot of people think of red as angry, blue as sad, like like what else is there? Like yellow as like happy, like sun, like green as like life. There's already like that kind of like base association that we get from like childhood and just like growing up, like how it's used. But I think it's fun to see how it really expands like what color can be. Like how you can make colors feel like more, just give them a different feel.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
And I love the tearing down of like preconceived notions about the colors and just things that we're taught kind of from the jump, right? That blue is sad and red is angry, just like you said, and kind of erasing those and recreating. That's really interesting. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely like a very fun like beginner prompt, if you have colors, but yeah, I'd say that was one of my favorite prompts that we did. And like in our camp. I'm trying to think like what are other things we did in our like little camp that I thought was like fun for beginners. A lot of times we made characters out of like inanimate objects. So like we would make a character that was based on our like refrigerator and just like, which is like pretty fun, you know, like what's your fridge like? Like, is there rotting food in it? Like, do you have like old leftovers? Is your fridge really clean? Like,
Yeah.
you can really like go for it, yeah, you know?
What was your fridge like?
I mean, better. But you know, our fridge, her light's broken.
Okay.
She's a little upset. She's been torn. She's been a little forgotten. There's some parts of her that haven't seen light in a while. But you know, she's strong. Like she's got things for me. Usually.
A loyal friend.
Loyal friend. Like I couldn't live without her, you know? I don't know how the settlers did it in like every time.
Awesome. Well, I just want to be mindful of our time, and we're coming right up on 11:45. So if we could do perhaps a share out, and then if you want to plug any ways that our watchers can get in touch with you, I'm happy to add that information also to the YouTube description. But if you have any work you want to highlight or talk about anything else, now's the time. I'll share first because it'll be the warm up for your beautiful thing. I did part Doodle and note taking, so I took some art with Mira, Doodle. This thing in the middle is my desk plant.
Great, yeah.
My UFO pancake plant. So I really leapt all over the page for my initial flowers. So that's what I came up with in our chat. I was mostly focused on your words and your insights. I was like, remember that. But that's what I came up with. What's your doodle? I want to see it.
My doodle is just like these lines and colors, like, you know, they just squiggles and some stars, you know.
Gorgeous.
Anyway, this way. I don't know.
It all works. Now, what kind of markers are you using?
I'm using these like Posco markers that are really fun. Like they're like these paint markers. I think they're also called like window markers because in the window and just like scratch them out. But
nice.
Even my individuals, and then I'm also using these are called Tombow pens. These are my favorite pens. They're so good. They're so good.
Okay. Cool. I was curious about those big ones, but I have the Tombow. I need to get those. Okay. Noted.
Yes.
Great. Wonderful.
I guess my plug is mirajoseph64@gmail.com if you want to email me about any inquiries. You know,
awesome.
I delete all my social media, so because you know, didn't want to be perceived, I guess. And so yeah, I don't know. If you want to message, talk.
Connection is so valuable, and email communication I feel like has fallen to the wayside. It's kind of like getting a pure connection email, that's not just like a e-newsletter. If it's like an actual correspondence, is so refreshing. So I will definitely include your email address in the follow-up with this Collegetown class. I thank you so much for leading through this exercise. I so value the mid-morning art sesh, the mid-morning time with my sketchbook, and I'm always so inspired by you and all of your bright, beautiful aura and color. So thank you for your time, Mira, and we will definitely be in touch. Enjoy the rest of your Friday.